Hey, what is up, mortals? It is zor-el here with a new video for you. Welcome to part 21 of What If Izuku Was a Stand User. I just wanted to greet you guys by saying, I'm sorry for the lateness, but there was a good reason for that. First off, your girl graduated! That is right, I graduated from the University of Maryland with a degree in broadcast journalism, and I am out job hunting right now. So, things have been a little busy on my end. But I still have time to narrate your favorite what if. Just sit back and relax, you guys are really in for a treat with this one. So, we begin. When we last left off, Izuku's stand had finally evolved into his third act form, granting Midoriya a faster, stronger stand with the ability to control the bodies of anyone that interacts with any inanimate object the stand touches. Shortly after receiving his new power, Midoriya hatched a plan to pass the exam. As Midoriya made his move, Ectoplasm gathered his thoughts on what happened to the clones he sent after Izuku.
I can see now why Aizawa thinks of Midoriya's quirk as an enigma. He somehow took control of one of my clones and dispatched two of my spawns on his own footing. He didn't even show signs of a struggle taking them on. So why? Why would Midoriya need someone like Shoji to assist him for this match? Perhaps his quirk requires time to power up? Or a secret move he's been saving? Whatever the case, I still have the edge in this fight. I have Shoji captured and Midoriya won't pass unless he frees him. When he shows himself, I'll trap him with giant bite detention and end this before he can try anything.
Shortly after, Midoriya appeared from the bottom floor hallway, staying as close as he could to the walls as he made a beeline for the pro hero guarding the exit. Go! Personal Jesus! Act 3!
What are you planning? A full-on assault? Foolish child. You will not win against me in close quarters.
Ectoplasm attempted a spinning roundhouse kick on the child, but Act 3 blocked the kick as Izuku made his move. I'm not trying to beat you in a fist fight. I just need to control you. Improvised move! Twin impact! Grapple uppercut! Midoriya gave the man an uppercut to the jaw, which followed up with a point-blank shot to the man's chin, with Izuku's grapple hook a split second after hitting the pro hero with two hard impacts. Earlier during his planning stage, Izuku ordered his stand to place its psionic landmine ability onto the hook of his grapple launcher, causing Ectoplasm to fall victim to Act 3's ability, becoming unable to move. Now, Act 3! Get rid of the giant behemoth and free Shoji! Act 3 faced the colossal giant glaring down our protagonist. However, the stand didn't move or try anything as it just remained motionless. Midoriya, I cannot fulfill your request. Izuku turned to his stand with a look of confusion. I'm incapable of removing the clone keeping Shoji hostage. I can only control the physical, bodily movements of anyone that triggers my psionic landmine, not their quirks. Hijacking Ectoplasm's capability to control his clones is out of my capability. Please, give me a new order. Huh? Seriously? You can't control that thing? The stand shrugged its shoulders at Izuku's response. Dang it, I should have known! Ectoplasm's clones act like an extension of himself and have their own physical bodies that follow the orders of the original Ectoplasm. My stand can't do anything against... Wait! Hold on! I got another plan! As Izuku thought of a plan B, Ectoplasm remained motionless on the ground as Act 3's ability prevented the man from moving a muscle. In his mind, he seriously underestimated Izuku's capabilities, and knew it costed him. He felt it was too late to turn the tide in this fight, but had one last trick up his sleeve. He silently ordered the giant spawn he created to go after Midoriya as the clone thunderously marched towards the green net with its jaw wide open, bending forward to attempt a ground-level giant bite detention on the UA student. But before he could capitalize on his last effort, he felt an invisible hand grasping Ectoplasm's throat, pinning him to the ground as the gargantuan duplicate halted its advance. Ectoplasm couldn't see it, but Izuku's stand was kneeling right over his body, ready to punch the hero's face in if he tried anything as Act 3's psionic landmine had worn out. Ectoplasm! Surrender! Now! This fight is over! Izuku demanded, trying to sound menacing, and failing to do so. Order that behemoth to stand down and release my friend! Or else!
What are you doing, man? An intimidation tactic? Do you really think I'll concede to your demands? Ectoplasm challenged.
Honestly, sir, I don't know if you'll actually do what I say, but I know how your quirk works. I studied your capabilities before this fight. Your power works like a hive mind. You create clones that follow your orders down to the letter. You even said it yourself earlier that only you can control that giant clone over there. So I'm going to give you two options. Release Shoji and stand down peacefully. Or I'll be forced to knock you unconscious. I don't want to hurt you, sir, but I want to pass, and I'm willing to bet you can't control that giant clone when you're out cold. Am I right? Izuku tried to remain unnerved, hoping the man would do as he asked. He honestly didn't know what would happen if he knocked out ectoplasm, or if that would stop the giant spawn in the room. He just hoped he would buy into his persuasion. It didn't take long for ectoplasm to respond to his opponent's proposal.
Well played, Midoriya. Very well, I shall concede to your demand.
The pro hero freed Shoji from the clones as the dupla-armed student slid down the giant's back like some sort of a makeshift slide, safely landing on his feet. Shoji, run for the exit! I'll catch up with you in a moment! Just get out of here! The dupla-armed student did as he was told and ran for the exit, with the only thing on his mind being just how Midoriya was able to pull out the clutch victory he was able to perform. Something Izuku would tell Shoji at a later time. Izuku's stand released its grasp on the pro hero and faded into Midoriya's body. He took a few steps back and, without saying a word, turned and followed Shoji through the exit, earning the grade at a passing exam grade.
That child has surprised me,
Ectoplasm thought to himself as he got back to his feet.
A quirk that's hard to lock down, naked to the human eye, and grants its wielder the ability to fight off multiple attackers without breaking a sweat. Under Aizawa's watchful eye, there's no doubt that boy will be a great hero one day. However, he really needs to work on his intimidation skills. Ugh, that was terrible.
Later that day, Class A were back in their classrooms for a follow-up on their finals. Unfortunately, a quarter of the students were not in good spirits as Aizawa announced that Sato, Kirishima, Ashido, Kaminari, Sero, and surprisingly enough, Bakugo had all failed their exams. Before and during his exam, Bakugo was too stubborn to come up with the game plan with Todoroki to take on All Might, ignorantly believing that a full-on assault was the best course of action in passing the exam, even implying that he'd rather lose against All Might than receive help from Shoto for the match. Despite several persuasion attempts from Todoroki to reconsider his strategy, Bakugo went full speed ahead with his gung-ho strategy, which would cost him, as he was knocked out 4 minutes into the match, failing his exam. Pretty impressive he lasted that long against All Might, though. As for Todoroki, while Bakugo distracted All Might, he used his quirk to make several large walls of ice to block his opponent's vision and prevent him from being spotted as he rushed in and out of the buildings in the area, keeping low until he eventually made it to the exit gate unspotted, earning the icy hot student a victory. However, Aizawa quelled everyone's sour mood, as he told everyone the stipulation where those who failed would not go into summer camp was just another fluke to get everyone to try their best.
Ha! Got him!
Despite some upset reactions, everyone was relieved they'd all be going to camp in the end. So much so that Hagakure came up with an idea to celebrate. She proposed a big outing for the entire class at the Camino Ward tomorrow to go shopping for whichever supplies they need for camp. Most of the students agreed on the idea, while others, like Bakugo and Todoroki, declined. After school that day, Midoriya headed home, made his preparations for tomorrow, had a good dinner with his mom, stayed up to date on all the hero news that happened that day, and headed to bed, excited about tomorrow's big hangout at the mall. However, while Midoriya slept peacefully that night, the League of Villains began their move on the Speedwagon Foundation. Several weeks ago, the doctor associated with the League had spent the last few weeks gathering whatever information he could on the 2 Speedwagon locations in Japan. After his time-consuming intel assignment, he was able to acquire documents hinting at experiments on a golden arrow of extraterrestrial origin, with these experiments happening in the Tokyo and Meguro Speedwagon locations. As such, the doctor deduced this artifact had to have been transported from one location to the other over several times within the past few years, predicting that the relic had to currently be at one of the 2 locations, but he had no way of telling where it was. As such, there was only one thing to do. Kurogiri and Shigaraki spent the next several days planning a heist for the stand arrow. deducing that the best approach would be to split their current members into 2 teams and hit both locations simultaneously in a surprise attack. Team 1, led by Shigaraki, would take the Tokyo location and consisted of Big Sis Magne, Mustard, Moonfish, Mr. Compress, and the Nomu Shigaraki recovered from the USJ attack. Team 2, led by Akira Otoishi, consisted of Toga, Twice, Spinner, Dabi, and Muscular, who would all hit the branch in Meguro. Kurogiri remained at the villain's hideout on evac duty, ready to pull back both teams once they requested his aid. It was 10:15 that night as the members of Team 2 were a minute's walk away from the facility they'd be hitting, eagerly waiting to get started as their group leader approached the villains. "Hey, he's back!" Spinner announced to the others. He noticed Otoishi was no longer in his purple coat and duds, and was instead wearing all black clothes. "Where have you been? It's been 8 minutes. We thought you deserted us. And what's with that getup?" "I told you guys, I had to change outfits and conceal my identity. These people were robbing, have me on a watch list. They can't know I'm back to my criminal ways, especially since we're hitting one of their spots. Trust me, it's best for myself if these guys don't make me out." Dabi and several of the villains squinted their eyes at Akira's reasoning as their leader put on a burglar-style ski mask. "That's a real cheesy getup you got there, Rockstar. Quite stylish, if I say so myself." Akira remembered what Giran told him about Twice's mental disorder troubles, and awkwardly thanked the villain, or his compliment, as Muscular approached the stand user with a psychotic look in his single eye. "Enough talk. Tell us what we're doing here so we can raise some hell already!"
Yeah, can we get this team initiation thing or whatever started already? I'm bored.
Toga moaned. "Fine. Everyone gather around." Akira huddled up the squad for one last recap of the plan. "We're here for a covert mission to steal a golden arrow that looks like this." Otoishi showed the group a drawing of the stand arrow Akira drew from memory, handing the paper to Toga to pass around. This arrow has the ability to give someone a rare, non-quirk related power called a stand. We're taking this arrow for ourselves to give us a major power advantage against anyone who will cross us in the future, pro heroes or not. Now, we don't know if the arrow is at this location or the spot Shigaraki's team is hitting, so we gotta search the place top to bottom to find this thing. Toga, Twice, you two are gonna have the most important parts of the plan. First, we go in, find a speedwagon worker, and knock him out. After that, Toga, you'll use your quirk to disguise yourself as the worker. Then Twice will use his quirk to make clones of Toga's transformed body. We spread the clones across the building and find the arrow. Once we find it and know where it is, we head in, grab it, and call up Kurogiri to bring us back to the hideout. Everyone got that? Spinner was the only one that nodded to Akira's plan, while the others didn't say a word. Well, except Muscular, whose fists clenched in rage as the bloodlust rose within him and muscles began growing out from his skin. No, too boring. If there's no bloodshed, then what's the point? Dude, I know we're not the good guys, but we don't gotta massacre the whole building just to get this arrow. Just slow down and think for a sec, big guy. The best approach here is doing this quietly. Screw that! You want an arrow? Fine! Wait here! Muscular threw his cloak off his body and leapt towards the speedwagon building, landing outside the front entrance with an earth-shattering shake as he viciously charged through the front door, smashing through the building like an unstoppable force.
Well, saw that coming.
Toga snarked.
What the hell is he doing?
Akira yelled with his mouth agape in angry shock.
He just ruined the entire plan!
You don't know how Muscular does things, do you? Dabi questioned. I never officially met that guy, but I heard how he does business. He's a one-trick homicidal maniac that prefers killing over everything else. He doesn't do the quiet way. Never did, never will. Akira was livid about the situation, but had to salvage what he could of the plan. The stand user muttered out loud, "Screw it," and ordered the 4 villains to rush inside the building as he was in the process of coming up with the plan B to this heist, before Muscular brought the entire building down. The heist team entered through the hole in the wall Muscular created, entering the facility's reception area as they took a moment to take in the sheer destruction they were greeted to. The inside of the interior looked on par to the aftermath of an F4 tornado's warpath. The first thing that came to Otoishi's mind was how glad he was Muscular was on his side. "Akira, what do we do now?" Spinner requested from his team leader, sounding like he was repressing rage inside him. "We must act fast. It's only a matter of time before the heroes respond to this chaos." "I know!" Akira tensely responded. The rockstar was silent for several seconds as he continued thinking of a game plan. All right, twice. We need clones fast. About a dozen or so should be enough. Coming right up, stage diver. You forgot to say please! The duplication villain went right to work making the copies Akira requested, which consisted of 80% togas with the rest being a mix of Spinners, Dabis, and Akiras. Alright, we can't do this the quiet way anymore, obviously. So let's split up and search every room of this place as quick as possible. We'll deal with Muscular later, but for now let's prioritize— Oh shit, look out! Akira spotted a pro hero appear from the hole in the wall the group entered from and blitzed at Dabi, ambushing the group as the hero bashed Dabi in the stomach, knocking him hard against a nearby pillar, destroying 6 of Twice's clones in the process. Surrender, evildoers! The villains became alarmed as they recognized the man who entered the fray. It's the number 6 hero, Crust! Spinner alerted. What's he doing here? I thought he wasn't a host of tracking down Stain. Everybody get out of my way! Dabi angrily got back to his feet and threw a massive wall of fire at the top 10 hero. But Crust blocked the heat wave with his mighty shield as he moved to strike Otoishi, but received several hard lightning-fast blows to the chest and face from his stand before he could land a hit, staggering the pro hero as 7 Toga clones pounced the seemingly vulnerable hero with knives in hand. But Crust smashed the doppelgangers into piles of goop with a flaming blow of his shield as the hero went back on the defensive. Akira knew this heist was quickly falling apart and had to act fast before things got worse. Damn it. Dabi, Spinner, hold this guy off. Toga, Twice, you're with me. Let's go. Toga and Twice followed Otoishi's lead, leaving Dabi, Spinner, and roughly a dozen Toga clones behind as Akira's group ran down the corridor towards the sound of Muscular's destruction up ahead. After a few seconds of running, Akira spotted a security camera up on the corner of the hallway. Hey, hold on a second. I want to try something real fast. Toga and Twice stopped as Akira pressed himself against the wall to stay out of the camera's field of vision and summoned his stand, commanding it to pass into the camera. My red hot chili pepper can travel through electrical currents connected to anything electronic, Otoishi explained to the 2 villains. I'm willing to bet these cameras lead to a security room of sorts with a monitor station. If Muscular didn't destroy the room, it should make finding the arrow a bit easier. The stand user then turned to his 2 accomplices with orders to give. Toga, while I'm doing this, go up ahead, find Muscular, and convince him to go help Spinner and Dabi. They won't last long against Crust, even with those clones backing them up. Toga nodded and ran ahead to find the literal muscle of the group. Red Hot Chili Pepper made its way to a security room on the other side of the building, appearing from one of the monitors as it laid eyes on 2 men hunkering down in the room, with one of the people calling 911 for hero support. The stand quickly knocked the duo out cold with blows to the back of their heads. Chili Pepper heard a faint voice from one of the phones the facility had saying that help was on their way as quick as possible, which Otoishi picked up on. He knew he had to hurry this up or they'd be boxed in and forced to retreat empty-handed. The stand directed its attention to the monitor station to find what it was looking for. Alright, think. If I was a stand arrow in a speedwagon facility, I would be in a research lab of sorts. So where would there be a laboratory? The stand scanned all the currently active monitors for a lead as some of the cameras were offline, likely from Muscular's rampage. Within a moment, the stand spotted a monitor that showed some research table with 2 people pacing around the room. Of all the cameras currently active, that room looked most like a laboratory. Without much to go on, the electric stand dived through the monitor, using the camera's electrical current to zip to the selected room with lightning-fast time. Chili Pepper spawned for the security camera, appearing in the room that housed a dissection table and expensive equipment all around the place, with a male janitor panicking from the chaos and a woman in a white lab coat, calling what the stand believed was someone in her family. Ignoring the troubled people, the stand began searching the room and the many cabinets for any sign of the arrow. But the stand's search was cut short at the sound of Muscular's body crashing through one of the walls and laying his psychotic gaze on the lone man in the room.
Come here!
The psychotic villain grabbed the janitor's head, dragged him towards the table in the middle of the room, and mercilessly smashed his head like a watermelon into the table as blood and brain matter splattered across the room as the woman screamed in terrified horror at the brutal murder she witnessed. Muscular's gaze went right to the female scientist as the villain grabbed her by the throat and lifted her into the air as she begged the villain for mercy.
I'm looking for some fancy arrow you shoot with a bow. Tell me where it is or you're gonna get it even worse than him!
The woman was too terrorized to answer the villain as she screamed for her life. On the other side of the building, Akira had a mortified and disgusted look of resentment on his face at what he could see through the eyes of his stand. It was true that Otoishi had a history of relentlessly murdering people that got in his way, but for some reason, this was different. There was something about seeing Muscular viciously threaten the life of an innocent, defenseless woman that made his blood boil to the point where he wanted to slice the villain's head off with his stand, which was actually on Akira's mind until he spotted Toga run into the room, as the villain turned towards the teenage girl.
Muscular, we need your help, fast! A top 10 hero is here! Dobby and Spinner are holding him off, but they won't last long unless we help them.
Huh? A top 10 pro, huh?
Toga nodded at the villain's question as he kept holding his hostage by her throat.
Finally, a challenge has arrived, and just as I was starting to get bored with these weaklings. None of these bugs even have quirks!
Muscular threw the woman against the wall with enough force to break her arm and cause a bloody gash to appear on the side of her head. The hulked-out villain approached Toga and asked where this top 10 hero was located.
The reception room where we first entered. He should still be there.
Muscular cracked a deranged smile as he smashed his way through the room like a human wrecking ball, causing the building to slightly shake from Muscular's bloodlust. Toga's attention shifted to the female scientist as she slowly approached the distressed woman with a knife in her hand as she begged Himiko for mercy.
You look like you've had a bad night,
Toga said with hints of empathy, running a finger along the sharp edge of her knife and glancing at the deceased janitor in the room.
Me and my friends are looking for some golden arrow that we heard you speedwagon types have. Tell me where it is, and I'll spare your life.
An arrow? I don't know anything about an arrow. I just started working here a week ago. Toga did not like that answer as she squinted her eyes and approached the woman looking like she was ready to slash her jugular. Please, I think I know where it might be. Toga stopped her advance as her grip on her knife tightened. All our research projects have been put on hold for the past week. Every artifact we've looked at or planned to research is in a storage room just up the hall there. It's the silver door on the right, I swear, that's all I know, please don't kill me! Toga huffed at the info given to her as she holstered her blade and made her way to the door, keeping her promise and sparing the woman's life as the scientist glanced at the death of her co-worker and broke down into tears. Red Hot Chili Pepper followed Toga to the storage room as Akira, who could sense the location of his stand, got the lead he needed. He would have rushed to Toga's location right then and there, but was spaced out by the brewing rage he felt towards Muscular as he muttered to himself, "If we didn't need that psychotic roid rager to fight off Crust, I swear to God,
Jeez, you gotta hug that wall any longer? At this point, you might as well marry it! Would you shut up?!
Akira snapped, defending twice and making him wonder what was up with Akira.
I think I know where the arrow's located. Come on, let's go!
Back at the reception area, things weren't going well for Spinner and Dobby, as the latter of the two began feeling the negative side effects of his quirk wearing him down. Crust, on the other hand, showed no signs of slowing down as he repeatedly tanked Dobby's flames with his shield, while also dispersing the Toga clones supporting his villainous foe, and even knocked Spinner out cold with a blow to the noggin, leaving Dobby barely able to fend for himself. He knew he couldn't fight for much longer, and as he felt he was on the verge of defeat, Muscular smashed through one of the walls of the room, joining in on the battle as his eye went right to the shield hero.
Ha! That little girl wasn't full of it after all. A top 10 hero in the flesh! Hell yeah! Time for some real fun!
Muscular rushed the pro hero, shoulder-checked the man as Crust used his shields to block Muscular's assault, The villain's strength proved too overwhelming as he staggered off his feet and was tackled through the structure's wall, taking the fight outside into the parking lot. Dobby fell to his knee as he took a moment to relax. He didn't show it on his face nor say anything aloud, but was thankful Muscular came to his aid when he did. This video is sponsored by Skillshare. With the services Skillshare provides, you can get access to many in-depth tutorial videos on basically anything you want to learn. Each class that they have is bound to help you with your creative endeavors. Do you want to learn how to make videos like this one? Do you want to learn how to write scripts or edit audio? Skillshare has you covered. And with our link, you can have a 14-day free trial. So what are you waiting for? Click the link now and get 14 days worth of classes free. That's right, F-R-E-E. Free! Link in the description below. "20 seconds later, Toga creaked open the metal door she was informed of, entering a medium-sized room with lockers and storage compartments all along the wall. The girl had a gut feeling she was in the right place and began searching for the artifact she was after, with Red Hot Chili Pepper doing the same. Toga spent the next 30 seconds rummaging through storage to find the stand arrow, coming up short on her findings again and again. That was until Toga opened up a larger sized locker of sorts that contained a glass box. Inside the box was a golden arrow with an intricate design etched into the arrowhead with a red jewel in the center. She found it. Toga squealed in excitement as she opened the box, grabbed the arrow, and ran out of the room. With Chili Pepper unaware, she now possessed the arrow, as Twice and Akira spotted Toga up the hall. Guys, I found it! I found the arrow! Let's... Toga's positive mood was extinguished as the arrow acted on its own will, piercing Toga in her right thigh as she screamed from the pain. Otoishi and Twice heard the girl's cry of pain and increased their pace from a run to a full-on sprint to get to the girl. Himiko grabbed the arrow and tried to yank it out of her, but the pain grew more unbearable as the arrow pushed itself deeper into her flesh. Just then, her eyes dilated and she dropped to the ground, motionless.
Toga!
Twice slid onto the ground, checking Toga's condition as the villain tried to figure out what happened. Otoishi caught up to Twice and noticed the stand arrow piercing Toga's thigh.
Oh god, she's not moving. She's dead.
She's fine, it's just a flesh wound.
No, it's not!
You're kidding me, Otoishi thought internally. He contemplated for a second how he wasn't able to spot Toga with the arrow with his stand before it could potentially cut her, but it was too late now. If Toga woke up from her injury, he knew what would follow, but for now, he had to leave.
Damn it! Twice! Pick up Toga, we're getting out of here!
Akira recalled his stand and used his earpiece to call Kurogiri for a pickup.
Get me out of here!
Akira and Twice carried Toga back to the reception room, but were stopped halfway by Dobby and the now woken up Spinner as Kurogiri appeared before the villains, opening up a warp gate to recall everyone back to the hideout. Spinner, Akira, and Twice entered the vortex, but Kurogiri stopped Dobby before he could enter, asking him where Muscular was.
He's outside the parking lot fighting off a pro hero that ambushed us. I don't know how he's holding up.
That's all he replied before following the others through the warp gate as Kurogiri directed his focus to fighting Muscular. Outside, Crust was losing his fight against his villainous opponent as Muscular's sheer physical strength began overwhelming Crust's defense as the villain threw a massive haymaker at the pro hero, shattering the hero's shield and knocking the man hard into the side of a nearby truck. The pro hero began coughing up blood as he knew he couldn't take much more punishment.
Yeah, that's right. Spill your blood for me. Spill it!
Muscular augmented more muscle on his body and picked up a nearby car with just one hand, intent to finally end the hero's life. But before he could finish his opponent, a white blur zipped towards the villain and kicked the man in the side of the face before he could react, knocking the man off his feet as he flew 20 feet back and fell face first through the rear window of a nearby SUV. The hero responsible for saving Crust was none other than the number 5 hero, Mirko, who was the first to respond to the Speedwagon Foundation's call earlier for hero assistance.
I heard there were some villains here in need of an ass whooping. Looks like little old me hit the jackpot.
The rabbit hero boasted as she cracked her knuckles, gazing at the blonde villain getting back to his feet.
Mirko! Hell yeah! Now we're talking!
Muscular thrillfully yelled as he reached into his pocket for one of his artificial eyes.
I get to fight not one, but 2 top 10s in one night. It's like Christmas freaking morning!
The two pugnacious fighters stared each other down, eager to clash with one another, but a dark purple haze interrupted the stare down as Kurogiri appeared between the two.
Muscular, we must leave immediately. We have what we came here for, and more pro heroes will arrive shortly.
I ain't going nowhere, Muscular refuted. I got a rare opportunity to throw down with Mirko. I ain't ditching this for some stupid arrow. Leave me behind. I can take care of myself.
This is not a request. We're leaving now.
Hey! I said!
Kurogiri interrupted Muscular's words as he spawned a warp gate under the muscled-out villain as he sank into Kurogiri's warp gate, unable to escape his quirk. Mirko used the opening to strike Kurogiri with the strong, hard kick, to which the villain evaded the attack with another portal, sending Mirko into a dark void and teleporting her to the windshield of a nearby car.
Kurogiri! I'll kill you for this!
Muscular disappeared through the warp gate as Kurogiri sealed up the portal.
So much aggression.
The purple villain sighed.
I don't look forward to reuniting with him at the hideout, but I must quell his anger before he lashes out on the others.
Mirko shook off the windshield hit and dashed back towards Kurogiri to stop him, but the suave villain disappeared into the night before Mirko could strike. Infuriated at her failure to stop the villains, the female hero called for an emergency response at her location, reported that the villains got away, and she rushed inside the Speedwagon facility to find and aid any survivors from the attack. With that, the heist was over, and the League of Villains now possessed the Stand Arrow. In the aftermath, a total of 13 people across both branch locations were killed, with 6 more injured, including the pro hero Crust, who fully recovered from Muscular's assault several days later. It would not take long for word of this attack to spread, however. Within a little time, word got to a certain man in the United States about the attack on the Japanese Speedwagon locations, with one of the Foundation scientists confirming the theft of the Stand Arrow they had locked up. This man's name was Jotaro Kujo. With the Speedwagon Foundation's aid, Jotaro quickly secured a private flight to Tokyo, wasting very little time getting there as he packed up what he needed, hitched a ride in a taxi, and was en route for the airport. He didn't know how bad the situation was, who was responsible for this, or how things could get worse. That was until he received a distressed phone call from his wife.
Jotaro, please, where are you right now? I need you, right now!
The Stardust Crusader felt worry crawl up his spine and asked his wife what was going on.
Jotaro, I'm at the police station. Jolene's been arrested.
Jotaro was stunned by the news his wife told him.
They charged her with car and wallet theft along with assault. They're not gonna charge her because of her age, but they told me they're gonna send her to juvenile detention. She's scared and she doesn't know what to do. Where are you?
The Star Platinum wielder was silent for a moment. Based on the lack of care Jotaro gave her growing up, he knew his daughter was destined to become just as, if not more rebellious, than he once was when he was younger. Like father, like daughter, he thought. As much as he wanted to be by his daughter's side, he knew what happened in Tokyo and Meguro with the Arrow was too grim to ignore, even for a moment.
I'm in a taxi heading to the airport. I'm going to Tokyo for an urgent work-related issue. I can't afford to miss this trip. I'm sorry.
Jotaro answered.
You're heading to Tokyo? This is your daughter we're talking about! Why not go tomorrow instead? And you call yourself her father?
Jotaro didn't respond to his wife's words as he clenched his fist in discontent. He wanted to say something, but knew he stoked the fires of an already fragile situation and disconnected the call as he sighed in dismay.
Jolene, please forgive me. If I could be by your side right now, I would. But if there's a group out there who have a Stand Arrow, I can't risk the possibility of you, our family, or anyone else getting dragged into the crosshairs of whoever's responsible for this. Yare I thought I was done with all of this.
Jotaro straightened his hat as he arrived at the airport, got out of the taxi with his belongings, and headed off to board his flight, mentally preparing himself for the bizarre adventure he was about to endure. She said it. She said the thing. I said the thing. I said the thing, everybody. Let's go. Also, thank you all for sticking around, and I hope that you enjoyed. Before you leave, we would just like to let you know that We the Celestials has many other channels for your entertainment and viewing purposes. All the information you'll need is right below here in the description. So feel free to check out all the other incredible projects our team creates. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will also be in the description below. That's all for today's video, so goodbye and have a divine day.